Hey guys, I'm back with another candle review, and this time around it's for the 18-ounce 4-wick pumpkin caramel corn candle from HomeWorx by Slatkin & Co. I did buy this myself at a Marshall's store, so these are available at Marshall's, TJ Maxx, and Home Goods, and they are $16.99. The notes on the bottom of this candle say buttery caramel, pumpkin spice, and freshly popped corn. But then if you look online at homeworx.shop, it says freshly popped corn, pumpkin spice, buttery caramel, and maple vanilla. So yeah, this is a fragrance that I've wanted to try for the longest time. It originally came out in the 2018 infamous tragic TSV sets when they first switched to 4-wicks in 2018. And it was the very first run of candles that were made in Vietnam when they switched back from the American-made candles to Vietnam. And that very first run of them were abysmal, and I just could not get it to pull out no matter what, even though I kind of really wanted to get into the fragrance. So I've really wanted to try this one since 2018, and it's just finally it showed up here in a local store where I didn't have to pay shipping, and it was just individually $17 at a Marshall store. So I was like, you know what, oh my god, I can finally check this one out and actually try to enjoy it. And hopefully the 4-wicks have been improved since all the way back in 2018. Very bumpy performance on this one, but we'll get into that later. So what does it smell like? It smells a whole lot like just like caramel corn. You get that hard, crunchy, almost slightly burnt popcorn kernel, popcorn fragrance. It's one of the most realistic and authentic popcorn fragrances that you can smell on the market. And I love that because I love my popcorn fragrances. It's just stuff like Summer Boardwalk or Salted Caramel. Any of those fragrances I'm just totally into, and I really love those during the late summer into fall time. And this one totally has heaps of that really realistic, awesome, crunchy caramel popcorn fragrance to it. There's just that slight burnt kernel fragrance, and just the hard crunchy outer of the glazed popcorn is just totally captured in this, and I love it. There's definitely a bit of a butteriness in there. You definitely get caramel in there, and there's a hint of a maple syrup note in there as well. But when you do smell the popcorn note, it's actually not overly as sweet as you would imagine, especially on cold. It's not quite as sweet as you would imagine. It's not as sweet as Summer Boardwalk or some of their other previous caramel popcorn fragrances we got from Bath and Body Works. It's a little bit more on that just straight up slightly burnt popcorn coming out of the microwave type of fragrance with the butteriness. It's a little bit less sweet than you would imagine. So you do get all those notes that I just said, and then it gets mixed in with a slight pumpkin spice fragrance that's kind of hidden on cold, but when you go to burn it, boy, does it really come out. And wow. Somebody in the comments was saying that it really reminds them of curry, and I totally get that. It's kind of like if they had sprinkled pumpkin spice powder or seasoning on top of the actual popcorn itself. So it's more like a dry, powdery pumpkin spice seasoning rather than imagine a gooey drizzle. It's not really like that. It's more like this dry seasoning that you would sprinkle inside of a paper bag of popcorn is kind of how I see it as. And so it does kind of have a very curry type of feel to it. And if you look up the spices that are in curry, there's things like nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, ginger. There's also something called fenugreek, which also smells kind of like maple syrup. So you can see that it definitely has a slight curry type of feel to it, but I think it's supposed to obviously be pumpkin spice seasoning. So you do get those traditional, pumpkin spice type of notes in there, but a lot of crossover into a curry type of territory. So just keep that in mind that it's spicy, but in a curry type of way. It's not overly cinnamony. It's kind of like all the other spices that you usually find in pumpkin spice. But once again, it's not overly sweet. There's a sweetness that comes through when you go to burn it, but it's not this super it's a cloying fragrance, but it's not cloying in the usual super ooey gooey obvious caramel type of way that you get from BBW. It's a little bit more nuanced, which is what you kind of expect with HomeWorx. So I kind of like that it's a slightly different take on popcorn, and you get pumpkin spice and you get popcorn, but it's just not as obvious as a BBW version would be with sweet kettle corn or something like that. But still, I love the authentic popcorn element of this. It really smells like you have actual real popcorn that's slightly burnt kernels going in your house. So I do enjoy that. So yeah, that's the fragrance. It's a little bit of an acquired fragrance, to be honest, but I still enjoy the uniqueness. So let me go into the performance right now. So the performance on this has been a total struggle. So if you follow me on Instagram on my stories, when I first burned this, that very first burn was an absolute like struggle. It would not pull out. It was just completely deading out and nubbing out. It was just like the original 4-wick from the 2018 version that I had. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so bummed because I just really want to try this fragrance and enjoy it in all its glory. But yeah, so the very first burn, it took like a full 8 hours to pull out and it still didn't actually fully pull out. But by like the last hour of that first burn, there was making small little mushroom tops that I made sure not to trim going into the second burn because I knew I would need it for me to be able to burn it properly on the second burn. So no trimming on this candle whatsoever. I mean, it hardly makes anything to even trim. And then the second burn, it was still very much of a struggle. But then like the third, fourth, and fifth burn, it started to finally pick up a little bit. I just never trimmed them. Every burn was anywhere from like 5 to 8 hours just because it was slow to pull out. But at least we have a little bit higher flames here now that it's doing a little bit better. This one's going for about 6 to 7 hours, as you can see, and it finally pulled out. So this is it's definitely a struggle to get this one to pull out and burn properly. Definitely don't trim it. The very first one might be very tragic, but then if you just kind of like let it keep going for like the entire day, it will start to pull out and the wicks will kind of start to recover. It's just been a real struggle on this candle. I don't know if it's maybe this fragrance oil is just hard to wick, or they just need to wick up on this. I'm not really sure, but it was definitely a struggle. But at least like I've been able to at least get it to pull out if I have it burning like all day, and then the flames kind of pick up as you see here. So just keep that in mind. It's definitely a struggle for sure. And then the throw on this candle is actually quite good despite the fact that it's actually struggling to pull out. So even on the first burn, even when it was struggling to pull out, it was still like a good 6. But then when you get a full even wax pull and it starts going for all the other burns, it's definitely like a good at least 7 to even an 8. It's actually quite cloying and heavy. It's really intense in a bedroom. Like you get a lot of those like curry type fragrances coming up in there. That it's actually quite cloying, and it's definitely good at least 8 in a bedroom, and then at least a good 7 in the open concept area. Probably even still an 8 in the open concept area too, because it's just kind of like this sticky like spiciness just really travels, and you get a little bit of that burnt like popcorn. It's a heavy fragrance, but I kind of like being choked out with fragrances like that, so I kind of don't mind it. So despite this being a struggle burn, it still throws well, so we're good to go there. So despite the struggle burn on this, I still find myself constantly going to burn this one and just letting it go all day, and I just kind of enjoy how like strong and cloying and like suffocating the fragrances. It's just kind of the fragrance that I want from a candle. It's just like totally just like choke me out. So I really enjoy like how so strong and intense this fragrance is, and like just that unique, authentic popcorn fragrance is really juicy. So I still do enjoy the fragrance, regardless of the burn on it. I probably wouldn't repurchase another one just because the burn on it is so abysmal. But maybe like if in some format it just had an improved performance, like it came back next year and the performance was reported to be better, then maybe I would entertain buying another one because I do still really enjoy the fragrance. So let me know how your pumpkin caramel corn did and your thoughts on this fragrance down below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.